Hello, my name is Stephen Mayeux, and you're watching the Best JS. In this video series, we are building a full stack application using React, Node, and Express, and also Socket.io. And we're doing all of this because I hate Donald Trump. He is really a terrible person. Okay, so anyway, we left off by having our client listen to the init event that was emitted from the server, and then updating some text appropriately here. Excuse me. So anyway, I'm going to show you a little bit of ES6 tricks. I'm going to make a couple of changes and we will proceed with the application. So right here, we're listening for an init event, and when we get that init event, we're going to call this function onInit, and then we are going to update our message state with whatever data was passed to us. Well, anyway, this is a object data, and I only want the message property from it, so I can use destructuring in the arguments list, like so, and just write message here, and therefore I can get rid of data, which is great. And the property and the variable name are also the same. So in ES6, I can just shorten that to like this. And this does the same thing. I can save it and run it, and it'll work exactly the same. I just wanted to show you a little bit of ES6 magic right there to clean it up. All right. Now, we're not actually going to emit any messages, only a counter. We want to keep track of how many people are shaking Donald Trump because they hate him. We want to track those number of shakes around the world and update the counter in real time and display those real-time changes as they happen. Now, we don't really need a message or anything like that, so I'm going to get rid of the message right here. I'm going to make this a counter. I'm going to make that a counter. And then going back to my socket roots, I am going to make a counter and actually give this some breathing room right here. Outside of this module exports, I'm going to create a global variable. I'll say var counter equals 0. There we go, perfect. And I'm going to get rid of counter, or I'm going to get rid of this counter thing right here, and instead put counter. And remember, we can use ES6 to shorten that up. Perfect. So if I save all of my files, go back to my terminal, Control-C, npm run server. Excuse me. And wait, and wait, and wait. All right, cool. Go back to our browser. We're going to refresh this. And, okay, it says this is a special message undefined. All right, no problem. Let's go back here to our app. And let's see. We're referencing message, which doesn't exist. So if we just do counter, stop the server, run it again to rebuild, then we should see a 0 right there. Wait for it, wait for it, wait for it. Okay, cool. Let's restart it. All right, awesome. Looks like everything is working. And now we're going to just make a couple of changes to the HTML. I want this to be a H2 and not a P tag. So I am going to highlight this and make it an H2. Okay, perfect. And what else am I going to change? I'm going to change a couple of things in here. I wanted to change that. I guess that was the only thing I wanted to change. All right, cool. So now let's emit an event from the client to the server. And every time we click and let go of our mouse button, it will emit a certain event. So let's write an Onclick handler for this button. Okay, and this.handle, we'll call it handle increment. All right, no problem. And this isn't a major thing. I just want to, put this image right here in a div. Okay. Okay, let me just put it inside of here. Makes no difference. I just want to keep everything organized, keep this in the div. Maybe later I'll style it. All right, perfect. So this dot handle increment. I'm going to go back to my constructor right here. This dot handle increment equals this dot handle increment dot bind this. All right, perfect. And I'm going to put it just below right here. So handle increment. Okay, perfect. So I want to get the current value of the state, okay, of the counter. Let me just first say, I'm going to say let counter equals this dot state. All right, that's just a bit of destructuring right there. All right, we're going to increment the counter, right, by saying plus plus, and we're going to reset the state again. Okay, this dot set state. Okay, we're going to reset it, counter. And then we are going to emit an event to the server. So we are going to emit socket.emit. Okay. Increment, we'll call it increment counter. And we are going to send it some data, not an object this time, just a number. So we'll just send it counter, okay, which we have already increased over here. So it's going to be all good. All right, so jumping back to our server, I'm going to go to our socket routes, and now I am going to listen for the increment counter event from my client. So let's do that. Socket.on increment counter, okay? And it's going to give us some data right here. All right, so we'll just call it data. Okay. And we are going to reset the value of our counter. All right, and remember, this is important. You want this variable to be outside of this function right here. Otherwise, with each new client connecting, it's going to restart at 0. But by keeping it outside in the global scope, it will work as expected. All right, so we're just going to update the counter. Counter. Okay, and this data right here, this is essentially just coming from our app, and we're just passing it that numeral, that integer, that number, and there it is right there. Okay, so we are setting counter, we are updating and reassigning the value of our global variable right here, and now we are going to emit an event, but we're going to do a different kind of emit. You see right here, socket.emit, it will emit this event to all connected clients, to all like users, okay, that are connected to it. But in this case, I don't want to broadcast the next event to all of the clients. Like I want to exclude the client who essentially I just want to broadcast to everyone except for the current like connected client, if that makes sense. So anyway, instead of socket.emit, I'm going to write socket.broadcast.emit. And essentially, it is the same thing, but socket.emit to everyone, socket.broadcast.emit, it would emit it to everyone except for the client who emitted this event. So it sounds a little funny, but it's all good. All right, so I'm just going to call it the same thing, increment counter. Okay, and this is going to be an object again. So counter, and that's going to be set to counter. So that looks good to me. And now if I'm the person who shook or shaken or shaked Trump, okay, it is going to increment right here. And it's going to also emit an event. The server will increment its global variable, and then it will emit that event to all other connected users except for me. Because there's no real reason to emit the event to myself when I was the one who incremented the counter. So that's why I have chosen to use a broadcast.emit instead of a regular old emit. All right, so let's go back here. Let's go back to the component did mount. All right, we're listening to all of our socket events right in here. So socket.on increment counter, and we are going to write another function, this dot handle, I'm going to call it handle increment. Oh, we already have that. So on, I'll say on server increment. Okay, perfect. Let's go back to the bind, to the constructor, this dot on server increment, this dot on server increment bind this. Okay, perfect. All right, on server increment, okay, your data is going to be right here. But remember, this is an object. Okay, perfect. And it's going to be pretty much the same thing right here. This dot set state. Okay, looks very good right here. So one more time, like, let me go back to the browser. So when I first connect, okay, I'm going to refresh here. When I first connect, it my browser sends an event, emits an event to my server, and that is the connection event. As soon as I connect to the server, Socket.io is going to emit an event immediately, and this is the init event. My client listens to that init event, and it receives a data object from the server with the current counter, and it updates the component state appropriately. And now when I click trump, okay, when I click trump, it's first going to update the state in my component, and then it's going to emit this increment counter event. And by the way, when you emit from the client, only the server can listen. And when you emit from the server, only the clients can listen. So don't worry, this isn't going to be sent to the other clients. This is just going to the server. So after I increment it locally, I emit the event, and here my server is listening to that event. And what it does is, once it gets an event from a client, it's going to update that counter, and then it's going to broadcast to all of the connected users except for the one who initially made the request, and it's going to submit an event or emit an event called increment counter with a counter object. And on the client, if the server sends that the increment event, well, right here in my, where is it? In my component did mount. All right, when the server sends us this, we're going to run that function right here, and we're just setting the state. So I'm going to save all of my files. Go back to my notes, make sure I did not miss anything. Okay, we're going to do that. We're going to do that. Okay, it looks good to me. Let's go back to the terminal here. Whoops! All right, no problem. Oh, it looks like we're just missing a simple parentheses. Okay, no problem. So that's socket routes 9. Okay. Let's see here. What? Oh, okay, sorry. This needs to be a fat arrow function right there. So there we go. Let's check it out. All right, looks like it's running again. Let's Control C to stop it. npm run server. All right, let's cross fingers. This works well. Okay, we restarted the bundle. We restarted the server. Let's come here. Let's refresh. Okay, we got the H2 instead. And now if I click on Trump, he'll shake. And as soon as I let go of my mouse, all right, it's incrementing. This is cool. This is very cool. I'm going to open up a new browser, and this is essentially a new client, localhost 3000, and look at that. So it's going to update in real time. Okay, and here we go. Oops. Does it update? Let me check it here. All right, cool. Sweet. Awesome. So now our code is working. All right, cool. And look at that stupid Trump. We're shaking him and alrighty. So in the next video, what are we going to do in the next video? In the next video, we're just going to, what are we going to do? Ah, yes. We're going to make Trump's face draggable. I showed this application to my wife last night, and my wife, she really, really hates Trump. And she thought, like, okay, that's kind of cool, like you can click on and shake them, but that doesn't like really do anything for her. It's not like really satisfying. It would be so much better if you could, like, you know, actually take Trump and move him around and like shake him around in your screen. So in the next video, we're going to do exactly just that. Like right now, if I try to drag Trump, it's not happening. I think it would be more satisfying if we can move him around as he's like shaking like this. So let's stop it right here. We'll do a little bit of magic to make him drag around, and then we'll be pretty close to deploying this thing, and you can start using it with your friends. Okay, let's take a break, and I will see you in the next video. Bye-bye. Boop.